Hi. I'm feeling a lot of pain. I mean, I don't even want to experience this. I want to just distract myself with worldly pleasures. Don't you have that need? Or maybe you're not aware of it, but we're always trying to get worldly pleasures to cover over these feelings of need and emptiness that run pretty deep. So by exposing myself to this video and camera, I'm going to unveil. So as I'm talking, I'm getting a certain kind of pseudo-worldly pleasure. Well, it's not a pseudo-worldly pleasure. That's actually a worldly pleasure from sharing, and then I'm escaping into the personality that's being created. It's covering up that pain, because that pain was bad. But now I'm going to try to feel it. I guess because I attempted to reach out and connect. I did compensate for that pain, but the question is, did I heal it? Fulfill it? What do you do with life, with feelings? What's the whole purpose? To break that down is really difficult. To know God, to worship God, to love our fellow human being. So that's what it's about. Trying to reach out authentically, trying to provide support, receive support, ask for it if needed. So I'm feeling different kinds of feelings. I hear people outside. I feel fear of being judged. All this technology is kind of complex, kind of annoying. But here I am finally making a video. So yeah, so I'm feeling the pain and need inside here. Loneliness. Now let me try to connect with God. I'm looking at a computer screen and I'm trying to connect with God. Okay, God is here. He's in everything. He's omnipresent. He hears me. The pain's got to be bad enough for me to yearn for and long for the healing that comes from God's love. Otherwise, I'm just going to be satisfied with what I can see, tangible. And kind of getting to the point where it's getting too difficult to feel deep pain that would enable me to turn to God. But I'm going to give it one last try. For all the pain I know I'm in and all the pain that everyone in the world is experiencing, I pray to you, God, to help us, to give us healing now, for all those who are suffering, for all those who are longing for connection and love and validation and recognition, and those of us who are getting it and so are veiled from you because they're getting their needs met through the things of this world. We know that their soul is starving underneath, and although they're getting validation from people for their achievements and their external life, they're not getting the love deep inside, because that entails that person going deep inside and feeling the emptiness underneath the validation that they're getting from people. So I may crave validation and recognition from people, but that will just boost my ego self and create a veil over my deeper heart and soul, which can only be satisfied with eternal love and the eternal peace that comes from God. So let us be aware of when our ego is getting validated and know that that's just a temporary covering. That's our conditioning. Although it is part of human nature, isn't it? Don't we crave that? Yeah, we do, but don't we crave more a validation for something that's deeper, that's beyond ourselves, for us to surrender the need for ego validation. We want to recognize God. We want to see our soul. We want to see the souls of others. We want to connect on the level of the soul and the spirit, because that's true freedom. Otherwise, we're caught up in the games of the world, the games of acquiring things, validation, recognition, approval from people, and we're constantly engaged in the games that procure those things and shore up our ego's self, which provides a barrier against the inner guilt, shame, fear, inadequacy, vulnerability. But if we can let ourselves feel that vulnerability when we're not getting the validation from people and approval from people, when we are rejected and we are feeling hurt and crushed by the world, that's when we can turn to the eternal and we can see Him in everything. We can see His presence and His love, and we can acquire the spiritual wealth through our faith in God that comes through the religions of the world and the words of God in the scriptures and the revelations. So in this way, we trust in Him, and we transcend and rise above all the ego games, the games of self and individuality and asserting ourselves around other people and trying to look good and fit in. Aren't we just compensating for a need, for a weakness, for that dependency that we really have on people? Let's just admit it. We want people to like us. We want them to comfort us. We want to comfort others as well, because that makes us feel good. But there's something underneath that flow, that current of worldliness, and that is the deep recesses of our self that is designed for God and the spirit of faith. Because when it comes down to it, we're all going to die, and we all suffer pain. And there's always times where we can't be comforted by human beings. So where then do we seek for comfort? And the answer is in the eternal, present love and purpose and truth, and that's God. It's the essence of truth. It's knowing that it all makes sense, even if our mind can't understand it. It's trusting that there's a meaning and a purpose and a design and a love behind it all, behind all the ego games, behind getting what we want, behind not getting what we want. Whether people like us or not, whether they reject us or love us or admire us, there is that eternal truth. But we're going to keep playing those games because none of us have complete trust in God. Because if we did, there would be no need for God. So there would be no God. There'd just be human beings. And then our shows and our acts would be ultimate reality. But we know that's not true if you just look deeply, a little bit. So let's become aware of our finite character so that we can behold the infinite and see Him as the essence of our being in a paradox of self and God that motivates us to turn to Him in wonder and awe and know that He is the great knower, the great lover. We are but His glorious creatures, but we are exalted only in His exaltation, and our glory is His glory. So let us not degrade or demean ourselves, but lift ourselves up to Him and know that we are great because He is great. We are great in Him and not in ourselves. So let's be humble and try to be aware of our ego games and acts, and just be sensitive to ourselves and to others, and be tolerant and peaceful and loving and considerate, and try to work for the good of all, but bowing to God, and know that He is our truth and our light and our salvation and our healing in all our struggles. Okay, thanks. Bye.